Gini Wijnaldum had some comments to say about PSG, Leonardo, and Mauricio Pochettino. And here it is. To be honest, I can't say I'm completely happy at Paris Saint-Germain because the situation is not what I wanted. Sometimes if you don't play, it's worrying. JJ, what is this about? He just joined the club. I take it takes time. I understand it's star-loaded, this team, but what's going on? What's going on with Gini Wijnaldum?
Let's break it down into real simple terms. I think you'd be worried as well if you've got Ander Herrera and Idrissa Gueye ahead of you scoring goals for fun while you're barely getting on the pitch. And I think therein lies the issue. Mauricio Pochettino has been scrabbling around now for quite some time, trying to work out exactly what his strongest 11 looks like, especially while he still hasn't been able to put what you would assume would be quite an important part of that 11 in Sergio Ramos, even on the training ground, let alone on the actual football pitch. So with all of that going on, Pochettino is, trying to mix and match all of the different players that he has available to him. And given the midfielders that he has available to him and the vast array of star talent in attack, it is very difficult to imagine a scenario where PSG play with more than 3 midfielders at any given time. One of those positions will always be given to Verratti when he's fit, and the other is going to the players who are in better form. And Idrissa Gueye, given that he's a ball-winning midfielder and is now scoring goals as well, is naturally ahead of him in the pecking order. And Ander Herrera is also doing a very good job filling that role. So I think Wijnaldum finds himself, having arrived at PSG, having gotten a few opportunities early on and not really seized them, is now sort of on the outside looking in, waiting for an opportunity, which could come as early as Friday, given that PSG will be without quite a few players because of the international break and the South American contingent, to impress Pochettino and get himself back in the reckoning. Because at this moment in time, it's hard to argue with him, being behind the likes of Gueye, being behind the likes of Herrera. And let's not forget, Wijnaldum's not the only one. You've got Leandro Paredes as well, who many people rate. I'm not as big a fan of him as some are, but he's another player who's sort of on the fringes at this moment in time.
I find this fascinating because I think one of the things that we all sort of forget, Wijnaldum was a midfielder, but he was a world-class team, a team that will be competing with Liverpool. Competing with PSG, we think, for the Champions League, and is certainly aspires to that level. But playing that midfield role in Liverpool was really a unique set of circumstances where what was asked of him was probably not what a player like Wijnaldum would have done beforehand. Certainly not the Wijnaldum we saw at Newcastle. He was a shuttler, a presser, not really a goal scorer. And I think it's a really unique setup there for any midfielders where they were asked as much to guard their fullbacks and allow Robertson and Alexander-Arnold to bomb on. Whereas, JJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe to an extent he could play that shuttling role if Poch was using a 3. I guess if you're playing Messi at the 10, I don't really know how Wijnaldum fits in there. As you say, he's not a ball winner like Gueye. He doesn't set the table in the same way Verratti does. Looking back at it, I think certainly he probably should have stayed at Liverpool, but certainly PSG was the wrong club. I don't know what you think, or whether he might even be tempted to go back there in January or go to Newcastle, where he's obviously a bit of a hero. They've got the money certainly to match his PSG salary.
Yeah, I don't think any of those observations are, off the mark at this moment in time. The one thing that I would say, I guess, is that I think when PSG made the move for Wijnaldum, and we know that he was very close to Barca when I chatted with him a few weeks ago, he's very generous with his time, very open as well about the fact that he was deep in talks with Barcelona before PSG made a play to sign him. I think that PSG expected him to be doing what Herrera and Gueye have unexpectedly been doing so far this season. And I think it's that surprise value, because many people wrote Herrera off after last season because he wasn't the same player that we'd seen in the past for Manchester United, for Athletic Club, wasn't really taking the opportunities given to him. And because there were so many absentees at the beginning of this season, particularly Verratti, because after the Euro he picked up an injury. He really seized that opportunity, and Wijnaldum now finds himself sort of out of the reckoning with no momentum. I think it's a bit early to speculate about whether he might make a move in January, but you've definitely already got a few players in that PSG squad who they're not going to be sitting around sort of tolerating, this sort of rotational system and sometimes not even getting on the pitch for much longer. We've just about seen the end of the sort of mini Donnarumma Navas saga, in that Donnarumma now appears to be the established starter for this moment in time, especially given that Navas just picked up an injury on international duty. And then you've got similar in the midfield now as well, where Herrera and Gueye, will naturally be looked to by Pochettino. Because let's not forget, despite the fact that PSG were 100% in Ligue 1 up until the Rennes defeat just before the international break, PSG have barely been convincing this season. Right. Pochettino doesn't want to change too many of the bits that work at this moment in time for fear of not getting the right result in a match. That adds unnecessary pressure. They managed to pull it out of the hat against Manchester City with by far and away their best showing of the season. And now it's going to be very difficult for someone like Wijnaldum to, impress Pochettino enough to get back into the reckoning. So he's going to need to take his opportunities, like on Friday against Angers, when you would expect him to feature, given the amount of players that have been missing. And if he doesn't, then he can't really have that many complaints, because when he has been put on the pitch, it's been very clear that he's not necessarily been doing what Pochettino has been asking of him. There was a scene that I remember from a clash with Metz a couple of weeks ago where PSG won it at the death through Achraf Hakimi. He actually got a double that game. And, there was a moment where Pochettino and Neymar, of all people, took Wijnaldum aside on the pitch and basically were explaining to him where he needed to be in the midfield in terms of his positioning. That I would find quite concerning. If I was Wijnaldum and I'm getting dressed down, on the pitch by teammates and by the coach, and I think that speaks volumes sort of perhaps about how lost he feels at this moment in time in Paris.